guys, Stephanie here, back with another movie chatter video. And today what I have for you is a Blu-ray update. I picked up some titles over the last few weeks and I've had the opportunity to sit down and watch them, gather my thoughts, and come up with some short, spoiler-free reviews. Yes, no matter how much coffee I've had, and trust me, I've had a ton today, I'm never going to ramble on so much that I give away spoilers and risk ruining anyone's movie experience, so you don't have to worry about that. What I will do is let you know if I think it's worth your time to check out these titles. Now, since I'm going through a bigger stack and not just doing one big review, the review segment is actually going to be shorter, and I'm just kind of going to churn and burn through each one. I'll give you a few bullet points about each movie and let you know if I think it's worth the pickup. So let's get started with our first title, Only the Brave. This one stars Josh Brolin and Miles Teller, and it's the true story of the Granite Mountain hotshots. Now, if you don't know who these guys are, or why they'd make a movie about them, or even what a hotshot is, I didn't either. But I saw a lot of buzz online, a lot of positive reviews, and a lot of people saying, you know what, pick it up, check it out, whatever. So I did. And you know what? I'm really happy that I did, because now I can tell you what a hotshot is. These are an elite group of firefighters who are highly trained and work on the front lines of wildfires. These are the guys who are responsible for containing these fires and protecting the homes and the lives and oftentimes entire communities of people who are at risk from these wildfires that are often burning over thousands of acres of land. This movie did a lot of things well, and I just had to pick a few for this review to hit on. And the first one is that it really shows us the level of bravery, dedication, heroism, and oftentimes sacrifice that it takes for these guys to be able to do this job. The second thing that it did really well was it showed us the difficulty that often comes with trying to balance work and home. When you're married to someone who takes on such intense responsibility and goes into often life-threatening conditions, you really are sharing that person with their career. And this movie shows it so well, and it also shows how they deal with it personally, professionally, because really the people who are left behind, the wives, the kids, they don't know when their loved one, or even if their loved one, is going to be coming home. And the movie really does a good job at showing us how it affects their relationships and how they deal with it. The last thing that this movie does really well, and beautifully, is the cinematography. The cinematography was top-notch. I thought it was beautifully shot. I suggest watching it on the biggest screen you can find. And the best thing I can say about this movie is that I am a fan of superhero movies. I love everything superheroes. And after seeing this movie, what I decided is that these guys are the real superheroes. That's the best thing I can say about it. So yes, definitely pick up Only the Brave and watch it. Next title. What can I say about Lady Bird that hasn't already been said? It is written and directed by the ever so brilliant Greta Gerwig. It is a coming-of-age story, and it stars Saoirse Ronan, Laurie Metcalf, Tracy Letts, and it really focuses on the dynamics of the mother-daughter relationship, and we all know how complicated that can be. And Greta Gerwig does a beautiful job of directing and writing and driving the point home. The one thing that I can say about this movie that I didn't hear a lot about was the performance of Tracy Letts as Lady Bird's dad. He really was, it was a very understated performance and a very quiet consistency to it, but he really was the glue that held everybody together. He was the one that no matter what was going on, no matter if all hell was breaking loose, he let everyone know that they were loved and that it was going to be okay. He kind of was the messenger that went between mother and daughter when they didn't know what to say to each other. And I've heard Greta Gerwig say in many different interviews that her goal with this movie was that she wanted to make people want to call their mom. Well, I see my mom almost every day, so I didn't call her, but I did get her a copy of the movie, and she's very happy to have it. So, Greta, you did your job. And I can totally relate to one scene in this movie, as I'm sure anybody who sees it can pick out something that they can relate to. But the scene that I can relate to is in the trailer when you see Lady Bird and her mom in a car fighting, as they do through most of the movie, and Lady Bird takes a header out of a moving car. Well, I didn't take a header out of a moving car, but my mom and I were having a huge fight in the car, and she very sweetly pulled the car over, told me to get the hell out, and let me walk home. So yes, I can relate. And everybody else should too. Everybody pick it up, see it, own it, send a copy to your mom. Lady Bird, I can't recommend it highly enough. The next one, I, Tonya. Wow. Wow. Allison Janney, so deserving of the Best Supporting Actress Oscar that she got. And honestly, I didn't see this before the Oscars, so I was kind of pulling for Laurie Metcalf. But when I saw Allison Janney's performance as Tonya Harding's mother, I understood why she got the Oscar and was so deserving. I was also really impressed to learn that Margot Robbie did a lot of her own skating in this movie. I was kind of surprised at that one. Anyway, this one focuses on the Tonya Harding, Nancy Kerrigan 1994 debacle at the Olympics when Nancy Kerrigan got clubbed in the knee with a pipe. Who doesn't remember that? I am certainly old enough, so now you guys all know how old I am. I remember this being on the news 24/7, and this movie captures it so well. They are spot on with their portrayal of all these characters. And I say characters because you almost can't believe that people like this really exist, but let me tell you, they do. And if nothing else, you wait for the split screen at the end of the movie when they're showing the movie character and the real characters. They knocked it out of the park with this one. And I have heard that, you know, it's called, they say, funny as hell, you'll laugh till it hurts. I guess it's funny, and there are some funny parts because if you didn't really see the real people, it is funny because you just, like I said, you can't believe that these people exist, but they do. So is it funny or is it sad? Because to me it was a little tragic if this is really what Tonya Harding grew up with. And I don't know that my opinion of her changed all that much, or I don't know if I believe how much or how little she knew about the incident in hand, but it really was a bit of a tragedy when I saw how much abuse she endured, and it kind of explains her defensive posturing throughout the rest of her life. So yeah, I definitely think that I, Tonya is worth a watch, and it's worth a pickup, and I think the rewatchability of it is really, really high, because I know this is one that I'm going to pop in from time to time and revisit, because even though I knew the whole story, I couldn't get enough of it. I watched it again, and I'll watch it again and again and again. So I, Tonya, definitely worth the pickup. This next one, Amy, the story of Amy Winehouse. This won Best Documentary, won an Oscar for Best Documentary in 2016, and totally deserving. This movie, I have to say, is equal parts compelling and heartbreaking, because whether you are a fan of Amy Winehouse or not, there is no denying that she was a treasure. Her voice was a treasure, but her story is tragic. And the way this movie is put together, don't expect amazing cinematography, because a lot of it is based on amateur footage that was taken throughout her life. And I'm sure that the people who were taking this footage never thought that it was going to be compiled into a movie. But what the producers did is they took all this footage and they made it into a movie, and they included good footage, you know, quality footage from some of her performances. So you have a mix, but most of it is a little grainy, and sometimes she's hard to understand, but they do subtitle it so you see what she's saying. And when she's singing, the way they do the subtitles on the screen makes it really easy to read. And the importance of that is because she was deeply rooted in her songwriting, and she really pours her heart out and tells her story through her songs. So to understand Amy is to understand her lyrics. And it is just a shame that no one really took care of her and watched out for her. And this one kind of broke my heart, and it stayed with me for days. And I don't know if you're going to want to own it, if you'd watch it again, but if you're not sure, I know you can stream it on Netflix and you can stream it on Amazon Prime for free, and then make your decision. Personally, as a collector, I'm happy to have it in my collection, and I know I'm going to watch it again and again, but it is heartbreaking and it did haunt me. But definitely give it a watch, Amy. Now these last two I'm going to kind of review together because I think they really complement each other. The first one was also one of the Best Picture nominees, Darkest Hour, and Gary Oldman ended up winning the Oscar for Best Actor as his portrayal of Winston Churchill, and so deserving of the Oscar. This movie really takes place in a time of great turbulence in Great Britain during the early stages of World War II, when Germany was really making inroads into taking over Europe. Winston Churchill became prime minister, and he had to decide, am I going to negotiate with Hitler a peace treaty that could potentially leave Hitler running everything in Europe, or am I going to fight? Am I going to fight to hold my ground? And the only thing that I have to say about this is that at times it was a bit hard to understand because there's a lot of yelling and screaming, and you have the really strong British accent, so I'm going to have to rewatch it because I think I missed a lot of that because of the garbled monologues, or dialogue. But yeah, it was a really, really good movie. And one of the things that they do focus on is the situation in Dunkirk and how Winston Churchill orchestrated the rescue of over 400,000 troops in Dunkirk because they were surrounded by the Nazis, and it was really crucial for the battle to get them out and get them out in one piece. And which is why I say that after you watch Darkest Hour, you should watch Dunkirk, which was also up for Best Picture, and I think it won for Best Sound, won an Oscar for Best Sound. But Dunkirk is a really amazing movie that shows us what was actually going on the beaches of Dunkirk before these guys were rescued. Now, if you watch Darkest Hour, you get the behind-the-scenes look at what was going on and how this rescue was orchestrated by Winston Churchill. Now, because Dunkirk doesn't give you a lot of backstory, they just kind of go right in, you're right in the middle of the action, but if you don't know the story of the Battle of Dunkirk, I would say watch Darkest Hour and then watch Dunkirk. Dunkirk is a visual treat. It's an amazingly shot movie, the cinematography is great, the action is great, but if you don't really know a lot about British history, you're not really going to understand what's going on. So, Darkest Hour and then Dunkirk. Watch them together. So yes, I highly recommend both of these. Okay, so that does it for my Blu-ray update video. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. I promise I'm going to upload again real soon with some great new content for you guys. And that's a wrap.